Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I am back today with more fairy journal progress here. I am getting a little bit closer to being pretty much ready to go along with making signatures now. So almost. I have a few things to do and to talk about. So I've been doing some fussy cutting for the project. And I have now the last of these covers painted. I have a little bit of touching up to do on this one. Not a lot, but a little bit. So I'll take a quick look here. Yes, I just want to maybe cover up the bitty bits of silver that came over from the back. And although I do kind of like that, I may even just maybe add a little more silver here and there. So I'll show you the rest of the covers in just a moment here. I added bits of like fairy dust to them with sparkle, and I added sort of secondary colors, like there's, you know, 3 different yellows in this yellow one. So the next thing that I want to do with this one is attach the front, the topper. So I chose this fairy for this yellow one, and I've kind of gone in color themes. So I'll get to that in just one second. One thing I want to show you first though is I didn't have the normal Thursday and Friday kind of thrift shop finds this past week, but I did pick up a few books. I went to a Value Village the other day because we were passing by, and I don't normally shop at Value Village a whole lot because I find their pricing to be extreme. Even on books, they do this thing where like they look at the cover price of the book and you may pay like some price between like $1.99 and like $15.99 depending on what the cover price was, and then if they assign certain value to certain books, then they like make those even more expensive. It's kind of a racket I'm not really into. So anyways, I'm very hasty and picky when I do buy books there, but sometimes they actually have really great books though, so I do still check them out. But somehow the fairies were looking upon me, and I found 3 fairy books with Cicely Mary Barker's art that I've never seen before, and they were $1.59. And so the first one is the Fairy Necklaces. That one I've definitely not seen before. It's sort of like, I'm interested a little in the story. It does have some of her traditional art, but some other art too that's not just like the flower fairies. So that was kind of interesting. Then these is the flower fairies of the trees. And so if you're not familiar, Cicely Mary Barker's work has been broken up into like a lot of different ways. Like she's got sort of all the seasons, and then, you know, different kinds of like plant families, sometimes color. There's an alphabet set of her work, like just kind of fairies for all occasions. And then they've been republished in many different ways. Flower Fairies of the Autumn. So this is one of the seasonal ones. They've been republished in many, many different ways because her work is great that way. Like you can make a compilation of fairies and have a bunch of different sort of themes to it. So that was the first find. Oh, and hold on one sec. So this book is not new, but I don't think I showed it to you when I was going through my review of the books that I'll be using in these fairy journals. So I got this huge book called Fairy Art, Artists and Inspirations. So one thing I've noticed is it's actually, what I like about it, first of all, it's large, but it goes through kind of the masters of fairy artists, right? So some of the digitals that I've gotten from Etsy are with the art of these people because their work, some of their work sits in public domain now. So the masters of fairy art, according to this book, are Richard Dadd, Sir Joseph Noel Paton, John Anster Fitzgerald, John Atkinson Grimshaw, Richard Doyle, Arthur Rackham. So classical artists, you know, depicting fairies. I personally feel that Cicely Mary Barker is the epitome of the master fairy artist. I don't really think anyone tops her. But this has a lot of really beautiful fairy art in it, and I think it's going to be a lovely addition because, you know, I don't want to go with like a singular kind of style in these books. I want it to be encapsulating several styles of fairy art. So John Anster Fitzgerald, I really enjoy his work. He's very pointillist. Little dots depict a lot of his work. And I really enjoy like the wildlife that he's painted. It's very nice. So yeah, lots of cute stuff. There's a little kitten there. But yeah, very beautiful art. And then this one is moving on to John Atkinson Grinshaw, Richard Doyle. Love that. But yeah, lots and lots of stuff. And then they talk about other influences, like Shakespeare. You know, I think if you've seen Midsummer Night's Dream, you know, you'll probably think about fairies. Gustave Doré, a turn of the century artist. Lots of different artists that were depicting Shakespearean legend with fairies. And then children's literature, folklore. This is nice. Amelia Jane Murray, Lady Oswald, 1896. A fairy standing on a moth while being chased by a butterfly. It's kind of interesting. Amelia Murray was one of the first artists to ignore the more threatening elements of fairy folklore, portraying the creatures as dainty and diminutive. Celtic artist. Very cool. Because I guess like for a while fairies were depicted as these wicked little creatures, kind of. As with a lot of mythology designed for children, like at some point it took a dark turn, usually so that it could, like, you know, give a lesson of some kind through threatening threatening children. This is lovely too. Fairies floating on a pea pod. How beautiful. But yeah, another beautiful book that I was lucky to find. This one, I can't even remember where I found it. I think it might have been an antique store. Yeah, it was an antique store that I found this one in. It is, let me see if it has let me show you the info in case you're interested in looking for this book. So it's by Ian Zaczak. I believe that's Ian when it has the two eyes. I can't remember. It is from Starfire Publishing. The Foundry Creative Media Company Limited, The Foundry, 2005, and the ISBN's 1-844-51-3270. It's from the British Library. So, yeah, it's a lovely book. Not new, but I know I forgot to show it to you, so... And then I might as well finish showing you my little book haul. It's very small. This is really lovely. It's called Give Me the Moon and Other Tales by Kathy Delancey. I have never seen this book before in all of my children's book hunting that I've done. So this is the 2009 edition. I like registration of copyright, second quarter 2009, printed in India by Ajanta in 2009. So this is printed in India, and I think it's 3 stories. A Tale by Roxanne Marie Galliez, illustrated by Kathy Delancey. Yeah, so look at these images, right? Aren't they incredible? I was really just bowled over by this book when I saw it. I mean, it's not specifically a fairy art. I mean, she's very fairy-like, but yeah, that's not even the story. There's a few stories here. The Ocean Guardian, an ecological tale by Kathy Delancey. So yeah, just gorgeous. I'm really interested in this artist now. I want to learn more about her because this book has really got me enthralled. Never seen it, and happy I found it. Yeah. Give Me the Moon and Other Tales. Then I found this one, Tales Told in Holland, My Travel Ship. Look at these end papers. Aren't these beautiful? Love them. So it's It was published for the Book House for Children, and if you've seen those little My Book House books, I think that's the same, maybe the same publisher in Toronto here. Yeah, so it's illustrated by Maud and Miska Petersham. And this is, so we have 1926, and it's very much like those books, the Book House, although those ones they tend to be illustrated not in full color, but like in like a teal blue, orange, black and white, and I absolutely love the colorway. This book has seen better days. It's definitely been handled and read, but I really enjoy it. I think the illustrations are beautiful. The text is large, and like I just couldn't leave it behind. It's so pretty. Yeah. So it's a nice, it's a large book too. Oh, what do we have in here? I didn't even know there were things in here. Oh, we have a dried flower. A couple of dried flowers. Yeah. Wow, those are probably old. It's probably been in here for quite some time. I'll deal with that later. I think we have another one over here. I did not see these. Yeah, more little flowers. So cute. I like finding little dried flowers in books. It's so nice. I mean, I would never draw my flowers in a book like this, although it is kind of cool. It has left some nice, you know, prints of the flowers. So maybe it's not a bad idea. Okay, so yeah, that book. And then I found a mushroom book. It's photography, primarily, from what I could tell. Yeah, so it's just a good big mushroom book. There's a couple illustrations by the looks of it. Yeah, some. But yeah, I always pick up mushroom books, no matter what. I need them. Okay, last book is this one, The Lightning Bolt by Michael Bedard, Regolo Ricci. I think Regolo Ricci is the illustrator. Yes. Okay, 1989. And it's just a lovely book. It looks like a really interesting story. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. I want to read the book and then decide if it's the kind of thing that I could make a journal from. I often pick these kind of books up that look very mythological and interesting. So let's see, I'll read this to you. A stick that grants any wish and a magic cap that can read people's thoughts are the farthest things from the old woman's mind as she gathers her wood in the forest. That is until she helps a strange little man she finds twisted in the roots of an old tree. For her kindness, he gives her the gifts, and that's when her troubles begin. With a cruel husband who uses the wishing stick to satisfy his greed, the old woman watches as things go from bad to worse until her very life is in danger. A storm-swept tale of dark enchantment, this story holds readers in its spell long after the magic ends. So that sounds wonderful. Okay. Wait. One last thing that I found was this necklace that I thought was just beautiful, that I'm going to repurpose for journal dangles and things, but it's got a really interesting, cool bunch of beads on it. This one's my favorite, I think, this coppery one. All sorts of fun. It's from Chico's, but it was the thrift store, and I just love some of these beads. They're really interesting. So that is my like thrift haul sort of part of this video. So let's move along here. I have all these word snippets. I don't know if you can see them here, but they're fairy word snippets that I have in this dish, and they keep getting everywhere. Okay, so I'll show you where I am with the book covers. So we'll do this one maybe today, but these ones are like, they're not done. The last thing I need to do is matte medium the outside. So you'll see I added secondary colors. This is the one that was painted that really dark blue, that was a very transparent paint. So I added like an iridescent kind of paint and a little bit of a lighter blue, and then I added these dragon sparkles, sort of they're fairy dust, but I think the paint is called Dragon Sparkle. So they're really fun. I've added this fairy to the front of this one with this lovely photo card. And this purple one, I didn't add more purple to it, but this is the one I've got I have to find where I left it now. The spine cover here. I think this is for this one. Yeah, so the spine cover I need to add to this before I seal it. Maybe we could do that right now, actually. While I'm here, I will just add it on there and then set it aside so that that can dry, and we'll have one more thing complete. But yeah, it's coming along in the process here, getting this all finished. I'm really excited to work on signatures, and I'll show you my progress on the one folio that I'm making. It's taken a little bit of a turn. I've changed a little bit of what I had started. So I'll show that to you as well. I also just found a really nice digital for it too. I haven't printed it yet. I have to print it on regular weight paper because of the way that I want to use it. It can't be on cardstock. It needs to be on thin paper. Okay, so let's just clamp this so that it stays nice and straight, and we'll lay it over here. Okay. Then the orange one, I chose this fairy, and I added some other iridescent paint too, and some matte paint in kind of a crosshatch, and it's got its fairy glitter on there. Hold on. Just looking for something here, hold on. I was trying to consider if I wanted to include on the back of these before I seal them, maybe like one of these and then some kind of like a fairy word snippet kind of across it. I'm thinking this on the back of them, just because it'll give it a little extra element. So that's kind of going to be another step. So as you can see, when I make journals, there's about a million things that I do and have to do. And the other thing I need to do is put brads in the four corners of these. And then here's the red one. So also sparkled up, and I have to do something with the spine. I think all of these are going to have like spine dangles, probably eyeletted through and themed around the same colors with some little flowers and little bits and bobs. So I'm excited to do that, vintage buttons and things. So she's lovely. I thought she was really cute. And then the pink one, same thing, added some iridescent paint to it, added this sparkle, and again, we're going to be covering up these spines. And that's our little fairy with her little hat there. So cute. Then I'll show you these ones. Okay, so these are done. The outside covers of these are done. So I did the same thing, added some sparkle. This one already had gold and blue paint, and the spine on this one is probably going to get something else added to it. I'm not sure what yet, but it's been sealed, the first coat of sealant. And then this one, I just sealed it. I didn't have a whole lot of work to do on this because I used fabric. I'm trying to decide if I want to put anything in here before I glue this down. I may not though. I think it's kind of cute just as is. Let me just move those over here. And then the kitty cat here, the yellow one, same thing. Sparkle and secondary color. And our snail fairies here. Okay. And then the last of these, this moon one here. And so I've got the eyelets in these ones. And that's the one that I did the hammering on, the silver. Okay, so that's all the covers, I think. That's where they're all left off. So now maybe we'll attach, let's get these out of here. We'll attach the yellow front. Okay. So I've added the card on here on the back, and I've used a nice strong masking tape to hold it on. It's going to be held on in many different ways though. So first we're going to fabric tack, or 3-in-1 rather, this onto the front of the journal. And then after it's dry, I'm actually also going to be adding brads through the corners. And in the case of this one, it's going to go through both layers, the fairy card and the flower card. Okay, oh, a little bit there. And then also we'll be sealing with matte medium. Okay. That's where I want that one. Let's make sure everything is down and there's no glue seepage. There isn't. Okay, so then that one just needs to go sit and dry. And then maybe what I'll do next is get the, actually I should probably look at doing, the next video I'm planning, I think, to do, I was planning to do it as this next video, but then I wanted to show you these updates, and that's using the watercolor swatches that I made in my Make Along With Me video this week. I made a few things, I'll show you. Oops. Scissors. Okay, I need to organize again. My studio is a little disaster right now, just because I'm working on a bunch of things at once. So these, let me grab the other ones, hold on. So I've started to cut a bit of the fairy ephemera out. And I've just tucked in other things, like, so this is the fairy ephemera from the various digital kits. I've started cutting out the pockets. And then I've also grabbed like a few random things that I want to embellish and use as like ephemera, like different envelopes and journal, you know, card kind of bases. Then I've done some fussy cutting. And then I added all the watercolor samples in here that we're going to use in the collaging. So that's kind of like my basket of assets that I'll be using next. Then I did make a few of the digital kit pieces. I made this envelope and this envelope, and I'll further embellish those, so they're going to go in that bin as well. And then I did make a couple pockets. So this is from just a business envelope that I cabbage dyed. So I added a fairy here and one of the paint swatches on Ledger in the back and stitched around it. And we have this pocket here. So this I think will be like a little floating pocket, just because it's a beautiful envelope. And I cut it in half. Like, see, you can do this with business envelopes, so it would have went this way, I think. Yeah, nope, this way. So yeah, oh yeah, I cut it, that's why. So it was one big envelope and I cut it into two to make two pockets. So on this one, I put one of the swatches with the iridescent paint on Ledger, and then I added some collaging. I did some spraying, added one of the fairy fussy cuts. This is from Crafty Cat USA, I think, from her We Forest Folks kit, and then I added a little word snippet from the Fairies I Come. So those two little floating pockets. And then I made this pocket, and I used the fairy book, this is book page. I added some of the, this iridescent paint is actually leftover from painting the covers. I've just been putting it on some of this handmade paper that I have in my background. And then I just did some collaging, added some black embroidered flowers. This is a piece of Cicely Mary Barker that I put on there. And then I made a tall tag with another little digital fussy cut fairy and a little fairy door, and then one of the samples, the watercolor samples, some fabric and some lace, and made a tag. So that's as far as I've gotten ephemera making wise, just on my own time, but I do want to try to do most of it with you. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you where I am. The other thing I think I'm going to try to do today is make a plan for like the size of each of the books, how many signatures they need, but I also need to work on spine and the back of the books. So I think that's what I'll do next. But let's put in maybe some brads first on this one. We'll try to get the brads in. So get some brads here. So if you're going to try to put anything on a book with brads, you want to make sure the brad's long enough to fit through all the layers that you are putting on there. And then, yeah, you want to just make sure that like it's not going to be too short. So then what I do is just the first one, I kind of eyeball it. I go in, let me make sure I'm in frame here. I go in from like the center, kind of like the corner inward, and I leave maybe like a 1/4 inch. And then I just make a little hole. Then I'll just kind of trail across with my pointy tool until I feel like, yeah, here's good. I don't like super measure or anything. You don't really need to. And then just do the same thing, just trail kind of down right here. And then across again to about right here. And then you just kind of pick the book up and you turn, 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 and gently push, turn, turn, until you're all the way through. And keep your fingers out of the way. Don't jab your fingers. You can use, I prefer paper piercers to awls, because paper piercers, they don't get wider and wider as you go down, like a lot of awls do. So they'll make a much larger hole. Right, there we go. Now you'll take your brad and pop your brad in. And this is ideal to have just a kind of a little bit on the back. You don't want a ton to deal with. And then I just open it with my tool. And then I lay it flat. I'll typically grab something a little like this, and I'll just give it a press down, just to press those down. And the other thing I do is I take a piece of masking tape and I just cover it right over like that, because it will stay in place. And I'll be putting like end papers over this too, but it's just another extra layer of insurance that that's not going to move. And the next one, and do this after like you've put down your cover and it's dry. Don't try to play around when it's not dry, because it will slide and you don't need that stress of dealing with your image sliding around on you. Okay, there's 2. Number 3. And also another thing to be careful with when you're using brads like this, try to use something other than your fingernail to open them up, because nothing feels worse than getting them under your fingernail. Ugh, it's a terrible feeling. Ask me how I know. Okay. It's nice to be getting back to working on these again. Yesterday I put in my whole garden. I got that all done. I had a really good day yesterday of getting stuff done. So my in-laws are here now. So like it's amazing because we have someone to like watch the kids while we're doing stuff. Because my son's 2 and he's at that age where he's always like, don't abandon me. You know, he wants to be with us at all times, and so that makes it a little hard to do stuff sometimes. So I actually went grocery shopping with my husband yesterday, which was like a strange, wonderful treat because I've been grocery shopping by myself for like 2.5 years now because we don't take the kids into the grocery store because like my son's just unruly, but also he can't wear a mask yet, so because he's a little young. So there, that's all attached. I'm just looking at it and seeing, yeah. So then, yeah, we did that, and let me grab one of these leaves. I want to try out my idea here. Let's see what word snippet is nice. So season was the time for all fairy people to, okay. So I'm going to cut this off. Hold on. The time for all fairy people to come abroad. I like that. Okay, so let's put those on. What was I saying? So yeah, I got grocery shopping done in the morning. Then we went out to the greenhouse, my favorite seed and plant kind of greenhouse. And it's near a town called Uxbridge. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but we had an incredibly crazy storm go through Ontario and Quebec. I don't know if it was anywhere else, but it was called a Derico, I guess. So it's a chain of storms that are super intense. And this happened on, so today is Monday, not Sunday, I think on Saturday, Friday or Saturday. No, Saturday. It was Saturday. So that was the day my in-laws arrived. So they didn't see anything. They were behind it as they were coming up here. But my husband had just gone out. And I think I was filming a video that day and I mentioned this. But my husband had gone out to get sandwiches or something. And like, he was out while the storm happened. It was basically like an 8-minute storm. But it was an otherwise lovely, bright, sunny, lovely day. And then out of nowhere, all of a sudden, the wind picked up, like really picked up. And I think the winds were 120 kilometers per hour. In Kitchener, they were 135, I think was the top winds that they caught. But like, it was just so fast that probably there were a lot of people out doing their day-to-day stuff, and they all of a sudden, you know, were like, whoa, like we got storm warnings on our phone, like severe thunderstorm, but this was beyond that. Like I opened the front door when it started to get crazy, and like the wind was blowing so fast, everything was just flying down the street, and it was literally raining sideways. So yeah, it was crazy. And then also, I guess, like, a few people lost their life, sadly, from this. Like, I think 5 people in Ontario. I think one is in my region, and then others, I think, were camping. And the way that they lost their life was because of trees. And so trees, just a lot of trees fell. And, whoops. I have no idea why that turned on, sorry. A lot of trees fell, and really huge trees like snapped, you know, just because like when the wind comes from like a certain, you know, at a certain speed, and all of a sudden, like I think it took the tree off guard kind of. I'm wondering if maybe I want to ink, yeah I do, I want to ink the edges of these books just to make them look like they've kind of had a journey. This is what, vintage photo. I'm wondering if walnut stain will be better, a little darker. Yeah, but it's a pretty intense storm. I worry about these kind of weather events these days. They are a lot more intense than what I've experienced in my whole time on this planet here in Ontario. We don't get those kind of storms. It felt very like a hurricane. It was really intense. My husband is used to this kind of stuff because he was a military kid, and he lived in a lot of different places where they have, you know, hurricanes and earthquakes and all those fun weather events, but I am not accustomed to that at all. So the last couple of years we've started to think more about like our safety plan and our like what to keep on hand and that kind of stuff. Because yeah, it's worth thinking about for sure, and planning a little, prepping a little bit. Just gonna get ink on the edges here. It's almost gold looking. It's kind of nice. And then I'll do the inner edges too. Right in there. There we go. Okay. I don't know if I can maybe ink a bit of this. Yeah, let's do that too. Yeah, so the what was I saying? Yeah, so when we went to the store that I go to get plants, it's called Richter's Herbs, and it's in a place called Goodwood, Ontario, and it's a bit away from home, but we decided to check it out because we figured that because of the storm it wouldn't be so busy. Like normally on this is like one of their busiest weekends because the May 24th weekend is Victoria Day weekend in Canada because we're part of the Commonwealth, so we get the long weekend, and so it's usually like the weekend where a lot of people do gardening or they go, you know, to cottages or stuff like that. And so, where am I? Hold on. Sorry, I just have to grab the next book. And so we got out there and we drove through a couple of, you know, towns, and we started to notice like there's a couple whole cities like just completely have no power still. So that was yesterday. So it's been like a couple days, and I'm sure that like, you know how these power emergencies are, like the guys who respond to these, like, you know, they're getting probably double, triple time like to come out and, you know, deal with this on a long weekend. But like, I also think that what I've noticed anyways is a lot of people, because of the pandemic, they didn't go away for a long time, and now they're feeling marketably comfortable. So it's like, you know, they're heading out places, and I'm wondering if like maybe the same level of response isn't there, and that's why like days later they still have power outages. So we went, we just wanted to get like coffee or something, but like all the places that we would go to get coffee were not open. Like all the stores were closed, everything was closed, because you can't operate a business without power, right? So then we saw that the grocery store, one of the grocery stores was open, the Longo's, which has a Starbucks inside it. We were like, yay, but it was not actually fully powered. They were just using their generator to power the like the freezers, fridges, and the checkouts so that they could still do business. And that was the case, I think, for a couple grocery stores. So I ran in hoping for coffee, but there was none to be had, but that was okay. I ended up just picking up a few plants that the garden center didn't have. Oh, this is a stubborn one. Ugh. There we go. A hard book. Yeah, so that was fun. But then we got back and I went out to the garden and got started, and I got the whole garden planted in, and that was nice. And then this morning I had a few more seeds to put in, and I had to put up I have like this kind of chicken wire fencing that I use to prevent squirrels and birds from pulling up my young seeds that I direct plant. I like to protect them from all the little wildlife friends that go into my garden and like to pull my seeds out. So that is what I did. And this morning I checked on everything. It looked good, and got my seeds in, put some more lettuce seed down, because we like to grow a lot of different lettuces. And I harvested rhubarb because there's a lot of rhubarb. And we're going to make a strawberry rhubarb crumble today. Rhubarb is one of those plants. It's wonderful. It's easy to have on your property. You don't have to really do much to it. It just comes back all the time. It's just a really durable plant, and you can harvest it quite a bit. And you only really need like a couple of plants really to have a good supply for a season, and it freezes nice, and you can make jam with it, and it's not high sugar, so there's a lot of things you can do with rhubarb. I like to just eat it raw. When I was a kid, my neighbor had a huge rhubarb patch, and I used to just roam free in the neighborhood. I was one of the only kids that lived in my retirement neighborhood at the time, and so I was allowed to pick rhubarb, and I would kind of run through the yards, and I would stop and I'd pick rhubarb. And the seniors who lived in the house that grew the rhubarb, they used to mix something up that I still love doing. It's like a half and half of sugar and salt. And you dip the raw rhubarb in it, and it's amazing. But I like rhubarb in a lot of ways. Roasted, and you know, obviously in baked goods, but I try not to eat too many baked goods because they are trouble. Okay, let's do a little inking on this. A little walnut stain here. And this is a shiny card, so it's not going to take a ton of ink, and the ink will stay a little fluid for a bit, so you can move it around and blend it as you want. But then I'll be sealing this all in, so I'm not too worried about it not staying on this card. Just want to kind of rough it up a little and also get the paper core on the edge. There we go. And then we'll see if this ink, yeah, it does make a difference. Even though I've kind of gilded these edges a bit, I just like the dark around the edge. I'm trying to decide what to do today. It looks like it's going to be a nice day. Definitely need to get out with the kiddos so they can expel some energy. Thinking maybe a nice walk in the graveyard or something. It's been a couple of days since the storm, so hopefully the groundskeepers have been able to recover the tree branches that are probably littered everywhere. I can't imagine, because graveyards, obviously they have a lot of old trees, and I'm sure that they really got annihilated. Our local that I walk in often, it has a massive squirrel population. I'm sure the squirrels were like, what's going on? End of days. Like, I can't imagine the poor babies. So hopefully they fared okay. All right, let's get one of these leaves right there. And then I've got this big long one. Every Midsummer's Eve, the King and Queen of Fairyland held a grand ball to which all the fairies and elves were invited. Naturally, everyone looked forward to this ball. So I think what I want to do with this, okay, I'm going to get rid of the naturally onward kind of stuff here. Don't want any of this. Now, the way that E is, I have to kind of be careful here how I cut. There we go. There we go. Now I will glue stick this down, and I don't need to worry too hard about, like, you know, the strength of this glue, because I'm going to be sealing this whole book cover down. also been spinning some yarn. I did a little more spinning this morning and last night, which is good because I still have to I've got a lot going on between now and my show. I've got house guests, and then we're having a little vacation, not too far from here, which I may bring my spinning wheel, I don't know. We just want to have some beach days, and we're going to do that. And then like the day I get back from vacation, I think is when the show happens, so I need to look at what's going on. A little bit more space. There we go. I just like telling a little story on the back of the book. It's fun. Okay, and we'll just kind of go a little lightly over it here with some of the ink. Here we go. Okay, so this one's just going to need something on the spine. Alright, and maybe we'll do just this one more here. This one's going to be a little tricky right there, I think. Maybe a little higher. Right there. All I hear is my back door opening and closing about 1,000,000 times. My kids are just so stoked to go in the pool, but it's still kind of chilly, and our neighbors have this really huge dog that my daughter loves, and so she's always out there with the dog talking to him through the fence. They have a great old time together. I was thinking of like offering to do some dog walking for them because they seem like they're a little overwhelmed, but I think their dog honestly would overwhelm us too. He's like really huge, and he's kind of an unruly dog. Like I joke around, we joke around about like things together, and I say like he's a pandemic dog because he didn't get any socialization as a puppy, and so he's just, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. Oops. Let's see if I can bend this brad back to how it was. Something got... Now let's just toss it. I don't want to deal with that. But yeah, he's a wild dog. He's very friendly, but he's the kind of dog that will jump on you and like knock you over. He's enormous. He doesn't know his size, but he's a really sweet dog. So hopefully they can get some kind of intervention or something for him later on, or whenever now, hopefully, because I think the longer that he's like that, they're going to have a few years while he's young that he's just going to be wild. And I don't know if he's fixed or not. I can't remember, but yeah, that can also play a bit of a role. Dogs tend to calm down a little once they're fixed, but before they get spayed or neutered, they can be pretty wild, especially male dogs. all those hormones. But a lot of dogs, you have to wait longer to get them spayed or neutered because they can, well, depending on the breed, some dogs can experience like bad side effects, like hip dysplasias and things, different kinds of things, because their development, their hormones of their development and all of that, it can be important. Well, it's always important, but some dogs it's a little more important. Larger dogs specifically, it's good to wait a little bit until they're over a year old. Never realized that. I mean, when I was growing up, everything I ever heard was like, get them fixed as soon as possible, you know, but it's actually not true. Here we go. Okay, so the brads are in, and we'll just cover them up. Okay. Then a leaf. Maybe right there. And a little story of some kind here. What do we have? That one's about elves. We don't want elves. All the fairies in the land. Let's go with that little snippet. I need a new glue stick. This one is really about done. I'm just going to try to use the last little bit up with this because I don't want to get up right now and get a new one. Hee hee. So here are my kids running around upstairs. I apologize for the noise. Whoops. But there's always something going on over my head. That's okay. Son he thunders around. He's about the least delicate thing that exists right now. He's so rowdy. Okay, there's that. I'll just ink this white space a little. Sorry if I'm off camera down here. These are bigger books, so they're a little hard to... Okay. All the fairies in the land. So cute. All right. So I think that's it for today for this. I have inking to do still, but yeah, I think I will probably just do that for today. And I know I need to get on with ephemera making. I just really want to get these these covers done. It's kind of an important step in the whole process here, and I'm doing my best to move them along. There we go. Start with that one, and then blend that a little too. A little bit of glue there. I think that's the problem. We'll just rub that off. There we go. And we'll re-ink that again. That's better. Okay. Now we'll do the edge. Sorry, I know I'm close to the camera here. right. And these little creases. Okay. All right, so that's done. So I think that's all for today. I will be back next time with the next step. The next things I plan to do is, finish what I'm doing here on the rest of these style of books. Cover the spines, the ones that I want to cover with something. I haven't decided yet. And then seal everything. So that is what I'll be doing with the covers next. Then I need to do the plan, and then we need to start getting signatures and ephemera ready. So thank you for joining me again today. I will have many more videos coming with many days of fairies. Take care. Have a great long weekend if you have a long weekend, and otherwise have a super fun day. Bye for now.